Here is a frequency distribution table which summarizes the dataset on the left. In a previous video, we took this dataset and constructed this frequency distribution. The purpose of this video is to learn how to graph this frequency distribution as a histogram on the calculator. The TI-83, TI-83 Plus, and TI-84 Plus calculators will take a list of data and automatically draw a histogram plot for that data. Since there are a number of different types of plots available on the calculator, it is important to make sure that all other plots are turned off before you begin, or your graph will be cluttered with several unrelated plots being graphed at the same time. Even worse, it is possible for previous plots to become invalid, or the datasets that were used before are changed or deleted, causing an error whenever you try to graph anything new. Before you begin any plotting, it is recommended you perform these two steps. Press the Y equals key at the top left of the keyboard and delete or clear out any equations being plotted there. It looks like everything's clear here, but I'm going to use my arrow key to arrow down and to see if there's anything below this Y7, and sure enough there is. I want to clear that. This is as far as I can go, so now I'm verified everything is clear. We want to press stat plot above the Y equals key and choose 4 to turn off any other statistical plots. To access the stat plot key, we press second Y equals and get this window. It looks like right now plots 1 and 2 are both on. If we press the 4 button, then enter, this will turn both of those plots off. Okay, so now there are no other graphs that would cause us an error, so we can go ahead and graph our histogram. And there's 3 stages to creating this plot. In step 1, we want to enter the data into a list as before. In step 2, we're going to tell the calculator what kind of plot you want. And then in step 3, let's tell the calculator what size to draw the window for the plot. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and do step 1, which is enter the data into your calculator's list environment. To open your calculator's list environment, press the Stat button, then enter. So now let's go ahead and do step 2. In step 2, we're going to tell the calculator what kind of plot we want. Of course, that's going to be a histogram. So now press the second key, followed by the Y equals key to get to back to the stat plot menu. Press the 1 key to access plot 1, and right now my cursor is flashing over the word on. I need to turn plot 1 on just by pressing on the enter key. Now we'll use our arrow keys to move our cursor over until we are highlighting the histogram plot picture with our cursor. Then press enter to select the histogram plot. Make sure that L1 is listed here for the X list. If L1 isn't present, you can put it there by pressing second 1. Also make sure your frequency number is a 1. So now we're ready to press second mode to exit out of this window and go back to the calculator's home screen. So now we're ready to tell the calculator what size to draw the window for the plot. To do this step, we press the window button. We want to set the value of x min to the lower limit of the first class, and that number is 20. We want to set x max to the upper limit of the last class, and that number will be 89. The x scale number here needs to be equal to the class width. Recall that the class width is the distance or the difference between any two consecutive lower class limit numbers or any consecutive upper class limits. So here you can see the class width is 10. So we'll set x scale to the class width number, and then y min needs to be set to 0, and y max needs to be set to a number larger than the largest frequency. Going back to the table here, we can tell that the largest frequency is 34, so we'll set our y max to, say, 40. We'll set the y scale variable to 1 and x res variable to 1. If you have a variable delta x, then you can just go ahead and leave in whatever value is already sitting there, and in fact you can just go ahead and ignore that. So now we're ready to press the graph button, and there's our result. The histogram looks like it is skewed to the right in shape because the tail is on the right of the majority of the data. So now we can use our trace button to verify that these classes and frequencies are the ones that we wanted them to be. Let's bring up our frequency distribution table here. So when I press on the trace button, I get a little pop-up on the screen here, and it tells me that the first bar, or the first class, which has a minimum number of 20 and a max number less than 30, which of course we know is 29, that bar has a frequency of 31, so that's the significance of the n there. If I use my right arrow button, then my cursor moves over to the second bar. That second bar should have a frequency of 34, and it says that it does because n here is 34. And you can also tell that that bar is associated with the numeric class 30 to 39. Arrow over again, and you can tell, oh, the next class is the numbers between 40 and, say, less than 50. The frequency is 14, so that checks with the frequency distribution. The next frequency ought to be a 2 for class 50 to 59, then followed by 6, 1, and 1. So as you move your cursor with the arrow key to the next bar, you're getting a number for n, which will always be the frequency of that class. You'll also get a minimum and maximum, and this will help you determine what the class limits are. Okay, so that's how you draw the graph of the histogram on the calculator.